3, 2, 1. Everyone, you're watching Ash on Comics. My name is Ash. Here's Stan the Man. Here's Stan's big drink. Oh, Stan's empty. What's going on, buddy? You must have been thirsty today. And here is Batman, Detective Comics, 1003 by Tommaso Waukee, Hennessy Fairbairn. Because, letters and colors need their... inkers and colorers need their credits on the front cover these days. Detective Comics, Tomasi has taken over the run since the 990s, just 6 issues before 1000, and it's been a good ride so far. I don't like this new trade dress, but whatever, that's not the comic. There's a lot of spoilers on this cover. Okay, not really, but let's get into it. Starts off with the dogs, of course, having to make an entrance. They hear that I'm recording. Oh, there's another one. So, starts off with this page. If you remember where we left off, we saw from behind the Arkham Knight's head, and they pulled off their helmet to reveal who they were to Damian. And dun-da-da-da, that's where we left off. Now, here we get this scene in Batman's, in his little bat scuba gear. And you're like, wait a second, what's going on? I thought we were going to pick up right from there. So, obviously, Damian's in a different location with the Arkham Knight. Gotham City Aparo Bay. I like that they do that reference to Jim Aparo. And Batman's investigating. Now, this sequence I was noticing as I was reading it is a really good page. You might just look at it at first glance, and zoom out here a little bit. You might just look at it at first glance and go, it's just a normal comics page. But this is really good. And I didn't really give enough credit too much to this artist in previous issues. I watched fellow YouTuber Sergeant Bats. He did a review video, and he really started talking about this artist, and he got me thinking about the artist even more and thinking about his work. And I have to say, his perspective has won me over a little bit more. I didn't dislike this guy's art, but I didn't give it enough credit. This Brad Walker. I don't really like the eye shield. Bats is a really big fan of the eye shields. I'm hit or whatever. I take them. I don't think they look good. They make sense from a design aspect, but whatever. I'm not used to that look, and it doesn't look quite as cool to me, but whatever. This whole paneling sequence is really well done. I mean, it's just 5 panels, but they're expertly designed, right? These horizontal pictures, we don't need anything except the emotions of the characters and what's going on. Vastly different angles. They're not just like flat shots. The artist doesn't fear doing like close-up cropped shots. I mean, look at Batman's head is cropped off on both sides. You can't really see much, but the important part is just right here, the intensity. Also right here, the intensity, and we can just see enough of Batman's arm controlling what's presumably the Batmobile. And then here we see Alfred, trying to control a sneeze. You can tell he's like looking at different computer monitors and stuff, and all of these actions reflect exactly what you're reading. And then the final panel is not a vertical, it's this horizontal piece, and it's the Batmobile zooming across these rain-swept streets, which I love. I love Gotham when it's always portrayed at night, and it's like kind of rainy, overcast. It's not realistic that would be the case, but it's just the moody setting. So they're looking for Damian. And now, dun-da-da-da, shocker, we get cut right to the next page. We know that Arkham Knight has taken off her helmet. And in a pure Metroid moment, we're all expecting, who is it going to be? Is it going to be Red Hood? Is it going to be, Timothy Drake? Is it going to be someone that we know? Nope. It's this girl. And of course, Samus, blonde hair, big armor, and the armor's even reminiscent. I don't know if Tomasi ripped that off or not. I don't really care. This isn't something that's done very often, at least in the comic world. And that great Samus moment was like back in the 80s anyway. So like it's not like that was just done 5 years ago. So she is basically trying to win Damien over. And she's trying to do it the honorable way. So they have a little bit of conversation. And she's like, well, even without the helmet, I still don't know who the hell you are. And I really don't care. But I do care. And that's why I stand by and do nothing while you're placed in danger by that creature of the... That's why I can't stand by and do nothing while you're placed in danger by that creature of the night, twisted and tainted until you're forever in the shadows. Your words don't mean much when arrows are knocked and aimed at my head. Lower your weapons. This kid once took me down so hard he shattered my collarbone. Same here, except it was my C2 vertebra. I said, lower your weapons. Then we see this nice smirk by Damien. I thought I recognized some of you crybabies. I take bad guys down. End of story. You mean yours? And he just fucking triggers them. And so they let loose arrows. He takes one on the shoulder. Kill the bat's bird, right? And so these are Arkham Asylum, bat criminals. So they're lunatics. And there's like, and the Arkham Knight's like, didn't you hear me? Kill, kill. And she's just like, chops off one of their hands. And you're just like, oh shit, this is no sissy pants. She's just like, whoop. And then they're still like, kill the bat's bird, kill the bat's bird. And I thought this was a really cool scene. The arrow's sticking out of through Damien's shoulder, out of his back. And he reaches behind, grabs the tip of the arrow. She's like, I said lower your weapons. She's trying to get everyone in control. While he's holding the tip of the arrow, he does this little forward somersault, pulling the arrow through, his shoulder. Stop before he... And you turn up and he's grabbed the bow that the dude dropped, ready to fire. And this I didn't catch right away. But if you notice, Damien's hand's kind of holding the bow a little weird. He's only kind of gripping it with his 2 fingers and thumb. And these 2 fingers are outsplayed. If you look, it's not easy to see in this, but there's something there. If you look, when he tosses the bow away, it's the dude's hand that was holding the bow. He was gripping it over his hand. I like that touch of detail. And she's just like, harming the young boy trapped in the bat's darkness is not our way. Sheath your swords. You idiot should listen to the girl. And he tosses the bow. I'd get that cauterized if I were you. Someone make a move, please. And she just whips up her sword in kind of like a salute way. And then she points it towards the exit. You're free to go. You're letting me leave without a fight? Without trying to hold me here and bait the Batman? The Batman and I are fated to meet whether you're in the equation or not. This is a good faith gesture only between us. A gesture for you to remember when the eclipse comes. I expect to knight you in the bright of day, on bended knee, your face free of a mask. I wouldn't count on it, lady. I like this. The dialogue was great. This villain seems fresh, at least to me, for like a Bat villain. And then here we get some of where I think this artist, Brad Walker, shines is in his layouts. You see the intensity of Batman inside the Batmobile, just driving, arms fully stretched out, to give that sort of like flexed feel. I don't know if you've ever driven that way with your hands high on the wheel. And he's just, you can tell right here that he's just driving hard and fast, looking with the search drones. He's still searching for his son. Search drones over the city. Alfred's like, I'll run them this, da-da-da. And he's piloting them. Everything makes sense. You almost don't even need the word balloons. And then all of a sudden, slam, screed. Batmobile comes to a halt. Cockpit slides forward. He exits. Rest easy, Alfred. And in a rare half smile from Batman, we see Damien's found a way to get our attention. So, I'm not a big Batman and Robin fan. Okay? I do like Robin as a concept more when it's Batman's son. Because, first of all, it's not creepy that he's got this strange little boy running around in tights. like the old school Batman and Robin was always just, this is his son. But also kind of makes more sense. Like, this is the heir to the throne, sort of speak. He's not just some kid off the street that he picked up to put in harm's way. This is a kid who already was in harm's way due to his past relationships with Talia al Ghul and his father, and now he needs to bring out of the darkness. And there's just like all these reasons. He's not a normal kid. It just all works for me. I'm not 100% sold on Damian. I think Damian's a little bit too OP. That's overpowered, and I think he's just too cocky. He's a little bit too grown up. I know should be older in spirit because of all the hardships he's gone through than a normal kid his age, but he's still a kid his age. He often acts like an adult, and it's like, dude, you're like 12 years old. You're like, even 12-year-olds who have aged up still, they have temper tantrums. They're emotionally not stable. There's just a lot of things that you just need experience and maturity, hormones through physical, biological development that you just cannot fake. You can't instill on a child. A child can only go so far. Anyways, it's comic books. So I'll put that aside, suspension of disbelief, and Batman and Robin on the case. Now apparently Damian is a better artist than most Marvel artists, and Bruce is like kind of proud. He's like, oh, you should foster your talent. Damian's talking about his teachers. They've now reverse engineered the technology that the Arkham Knights were using. He's like got this new armor, and they're like, oh yeah. And here again, this Brad Walker, his art is really shining through in like the quiet moments, the expressions on the characters that I just like. I can almost just look at this panel without reading what's happening and kind of get a feel and tell of what's going on. This is a very overlooked ability, right? In the old days, in the 90s, we just wanted to see badass pinup shots of characters kicking ass and flying across the screen, and that shit looks cool. But it's a very underappreciated ability to be able to illustrate these, more boring type connective shots of like climbing down a ladder, just talking to each other, but making it look interesting. A lot of bad artists will just have talking heads, and you just see a picture of a head and word balloon, picture of a head, word balloon. But here we get that same thing. These characters are interacting; they're just having a conversation, but it's done in a dynamic way. Here we see them putting on their clothes, and now it's Damian's tying his shoe. And you're like, oh, big deal, he's tying a shoe, Ash. You're right, exactly. It could have just been a head, but there's things happening in the scene, and it's because of this, it's animating in your mind as you're reading from one panel to the next. Your mind is filling in the gaps, and you can almost, when you let go, see Batman climbing down while Damian's flying down and landing, and here's Batman still climbing down the ladder. And they've got this weird vehicle that, okay, whatever, I can't even make heads or tails of it, but it's some special vehicle to go underground because they figure out that the Arkham Knight is based in Arkham. So she's now lecturing her minions. You have your own free will and volition. You have of your own free will and volition embarked on this crusade with me, knowing full well that it would require loyalty and service beyond normal parameters. That whatever was vital to bring about the eclipse would be done. That sacrifice by your fellow brethren... Sorry, I'm not reading this out right. That sacrifice by your fellow brethren would be crucial to our success. And she's got two people kneeling. Vows were made when I pulled you from the shadows. Edicts to be followed. Dr. Phosphorus, your cell is open. Please make your way to the front. And again, I just love these layouts and transitions. This artist is really growing on me. He's able to, here we don't need a background. It's only important to show her emotion. But this little panel is a nice establishing shot. We know we're in Arkham. Boom. Get the tip of the gate, little light. It's enough for us to know that our minds can fill in the rest. Then we see her yelling. We don't need all the background. We don't need to know where she is. But here, we get some nice details to establish the environment. This is a lost art. This is great. So I didn't know in a previous issue who this was. Some people speculated that it was like Dr. Bones or whatever that guy is. Obviously he's a skeleton. It's easy to mistake. This guy's Dr. Phosphorus, some burning creature thing. And they use him to, I guess, burn in the marks of their order or something into their bodies. So yeah. These symbols on our backs and our armor are not just for show. They are rays of hope for the hopeless. Breathe deep the skin of our brethren. Our journey to this point has been long and arduous, and there's no denying that setting our sights for the heart of the sun would bring darkness and pain. But make no mistake, behind the clouds, our city will soon be bathed in its golden light, and the glowing shadows Batman casts will be burned away. The next stage of the eclipse begins now. Speed is of the essence, and she's donning her helmet. And this is like just a nice establishing bit of just like the zealotry of who these guys are. If you're a Game of Thrones fan, by the way, Game of Thrones finished. I loved it. I'm gonna be like this just random person. Like everyone is freaking out over it and hating it and just crying out. I'm in love with it. But if you are a Game of Thrones fans, or like if you remember the Red Sparrows, it's like this whole thing kind of reminds me of that whole zealot nature of being the super righteous. So Batman is in with Robin. They're piloting their super bat vehicle thing through the sewers, and they bust through into Arkham, and gone. Everyone's gone. That's because they follow my daughter, Astrid Arkham, to the ends of the earth. Dun dun dun. Arkham Knight, spoiler, is Dr. Arkham's daughter. Next, Curse of the Bat. So, that is Detective Comics 1003. Now, this particular issue did not wow me as much as the first two. But I think that's the nature of the plot, where it's at right now. The first two, I thought, were just really exciting and building the tension. Now that that's established, now it's more about the reveals, and the second act has begun. We're gonna have a little bit of an interlude, and so it can't always be pins and needles excitement type thing. You know, edge of your seat. There has to be peaks and valleys. That said, this was a very enjoyable comic. I don't really have any flaws to it. There's really nothing to critique. The writing is solid. It's part of a bigger story. It's just one chapter, and it's moving along nicely. It carries what the first two comics have set up, and this is what comics should be. Comics don't need to be Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns, whatever a comic to you is like an all-time great comic. They don't need to be that all the time. This whole Game of Thrones fiasco, which I think is big, silly nonsense, with everyone just hating it and freaking out and just being like, oh my God, the sky's falling. Game of Thrones didn't end the way that I wanted it to. Just silly to me. It just speaks so many volumes of this like entitlement culture we live in, this outrage culture. It's like, we didn't get our way, so not only are we upset or disappointed, but we got to be completely outraged. It's not enough to be like, oh, that's kind of bummer. Game of Thrones didn't go the way that I wanted it to. Oh well. Like, it's just freak the fuck out. Like, you know, I'm waiting for like cities to be set fire, like after Chicago wins a sports championship. No, I don't think it's gonna go that far, but you know what I mean? It's just we live now in a day where if something is not the best thing ever, it's the worst thing ever. It's like 5 stars or 1 star. And it's like, you know, it used to be we were just satisfied to have a consistent 3 stars. Like, yeah, you know, it's great to have something great, but if you can just be pretty good for a long time, that in itself is a monumental achievement. Batman is better than 3 stars. I would give this a 4 stars. It's not monumental by any means, but it's very solid. The art is good. The story is fun. There's nothing really to let you down. The characters are interesting. It's got a cool new villain that's kind of intriguing and doesn't feel how do I say, just like formulaic or just like ripped off something else. I know I did poke fun at the whole Samus thing, but Samus, that's just in the whole like, oh, it's a surprise, pull off the helmet, it's a girl. Anyways, I enjoyed it. I've spoken too long on this. I hope you enjoy it too. Detective Comics is solid. This is the best Batman book, and it's good, solid, fun comics if you like this stuff. Batman swinging around with the Boy Wonder and beating up bad guys and solving crime. That didn't sound right. Solving cases. Anyways, I get pointed out all the time that he's a detective. Imagine that. Thanks for watching. Leave your comments below, and I'll see you next time. Time for another JL8 webcomic, number 30 by Yale Stewart. Are you guys ready for this? I doubt anyone even read the article. I know Barry only reads the comics. Good morning, boys. No, we are men. Oh, here we go.